because I took that moment, I took that opportunity, that would have gone and I wouldn't be here today. Everything would have been done. Everything in my life would have been 100% different if I didn't take that moment.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of I Know This Guy, the podcast where we dive deep into the lives of some of the most interesting people I know. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to I Know This Guy wherever you get your podcasts. By the way, my kids want me to say something about ringing a bell. What the hell's a bell?
All right, so Deb, who do we have lined up for the podcast?
All right, so Larry Broughton, a friend of the podcast, referred us to Anthony Melchiorri. So Anthony is the host and producer, executive producer of Hotel Impossible.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe you'll start criticizing what I do. But anyways, you know what? I can't wait to talk to him. All right, Anthony, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Norm. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. So you were referred by Larry Broughton, and he said, he was saying that you were one of the most interesting people that he knew.
Well, that's coming from the most interesting person that I know. So that's interesting.
So, and how do you know Larry?
Larry, I did a show called Hotel Impossible, and we needed a consultant out in California. And somehow I found him through a friend or online, or a producer found him. And I looked at his resume and I was like, I want this guy on the show. And anybody that knows me knows I do everything impromptu. So he just shows up. I go, hey, nice to meet you. Action. Hey, I need your help with this. And we just went live and he was great. And, and then me and him just became very good friends. And here we are today.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm glad you met him.
Yeah, I'm glad I met him too. He's the guy you want in your foxhole.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to talk about your background. Everybody that knows you as a hotelier. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes Anthony, and let's get into some detail.
Just an absolute need to achieve. Since I was a kid, I've always felt like the underdog. And people say I'm only 5'7", so people say you have a Napoleon complex. I say I don't have a Napoleon complex. I just have a bad attitude. And actually, I have a good attitude. And when I was a kid, my dad died when I was 2. My mom did a good job raising 3 boys by herself, and I grew up in Brooklyn. If you didn't know the inside story, the outside story looked pretty good. We were always well dressed. Our apartment was always clean. We always had a nice car, but inside there was a lot going on, and so I had a lot of internal struggle. And then I went in the military and learned if I fold my underwear better than anybody else, I get a pat on the back. And so that little achievement just grew into just wanting to be. I guess I was always an overachiever. And never really, I'm hyper competitive, so never really try to beat anyone. I just try to do my best. And I'm one of those guys that will kill you. I will do everything I can to win, as long as it's legal and moral. But if I lose, I'll shake your hand and wish you the best. So just always been hyper competitive because circumstances I grew up in, didn't have a dad, and then just knew the only person that's going to feed me is me.
Now, I was in the service over in Canada for a brief period of time, the artillery. You were in the Air Force, correct?
I was in the United States Air Force, correct.
So what was that like going from Brooklyn into the Air Force?
Well, the day I shipped out, I don't remember the flight, but I do remember the bus ride. I was in San Antonio, Texas, going to Lackland Air Force Base. And I remember feeling very ill. And I just remember lights. I remember we're going down, I guess, the strip in San Antonio. And I just remember a lot of light, a lot of glare. And when we got off the bus, there was TIs there. And as you would know, and they're screaming at you, yelling at you. And now we got to eat. So we go into the chow hall, and I got this mashed potatoes, I got some roast beef, and I got some gravy. And the gravy just made me nauseous because I was already nauseous because I was nervous. I was a nervous wreck. I had none of the confidence I have now. And so I just remember spinning. My head was spinning, and I was just about to fall. And my whole tray actually fell right in the garbage. It just happened to be there. And somebody caught me. And then I sat down for 10 minutes, and then they started yelling at me again. And that night I went into the bunks and everything, and they banged the pipes to wake you up. And that started my day. I remember looking at the squad leaders who were just like me. They just joined, and they were picked out in their first couple of days as the leaders of the squadron. And it was amazing to me I couldn't even put my pants on straight. I was scared of my own shadow. And here these guys are stepping up and being leaders in the squadron. And I remember admiring them and saying, what would that feel like? Like to be able to deal with this chaos and stress, but also lead the platoon or the squadron that you just joined yourself. So that's kind of when I started like realizing if I guess just keep putting one foot in front of the other and all this will work out. So it was quite overwhelming. And I never use that word because I never feel overwhelmed, but that was very, very overwhelming. And I knew if I went back, I was going back to Brooklyn, I was going to find the highest roof to jump off of. Not that I didn't love Brooklyn, but I had nothing to go back to.
Now, I'm just kind of curious. Are you, and I think I know the answer, but are you an introvert or an extrovert?
You don't know the answer because you think I'm an extrovert. I'm actually an introvert.
Interesting.
What did you think? Extrovert?
You know what? I was thinking absolutely extrovert, but I just had a feeling that you could have been an introvert.
Yeah, I'm an introvert, and I'm writing a book about personal branding, and one of the things in writing the book is I realized I always say I don't like people, and I like being by myself, and it's not true. I'm not a big people person. Like I'm not the guy at a cocktail party in the corner. Like if I go there and I'm being paid to be there, or you're a friend of mine and you say, "Hey, Anthony, can you come?" and it's a big deal if you come, and I want to introduce you to some people. Then I'm the guy. I'm the guy that everybody's talking to, and I'm talking. But typically, left to my own devices, I'm sitting in a corner having a glass of wine or a scotch, looking at everyone. But one of the things with this book is I realized is I don't like people, but I like taking care of people. So in the hospitality business, I've never had a bad comment in my life. I love taking care of people. I love making sure I take their problem and fix it. Doesn't mean I want to take you out for a coffee, and that doesn't mean I want to hang out with you, but I do want to fix your problem and I want to put a smile on your face. So that's kind of what has inspired me. But yeah, my definition, I'm an introvert. Maybe other people say I'm an extrovert, but I like being alone. I like eating alone. I like traveling alone. My wife said to me about 10 years ago, she looked at me, she goes, you're a loner, right? I go, I'm not a loner. Are you crazy? She goes, you're a loner. I was like, okay. So now I own that tag. I'm a loner. And you know what? I have so much going on with my life, my 3 kids, my wife, my businesses, my shows, that, if I'm being called a loner through all that, okay.
So be it. So when you got out of the Air Force, what did you do?
I was in Honduras. I was stationed at Whiteman Air Force Base, which is a missile base, 150 intercontinental ballistic missiles. We were in charge of launching, taking care of. And I was a protocol officer. So basically, I had the most dangerous job in the military. I poured coffee for the generals and the colonels, and that coffee was hot. So it was very dangerous. Nothing like what Larry did. He jumped out of planes and took the hill. I poured coffee, much more dangerous. And so I was going to stay in because my colonel asked me to become an officer. I was an NCO at the time, non-commissioned officer. And I said, yes, if I take the test, it's going to be a while before I know. So I need to extend 6 months because I'm getting out soon. And I don't want to re-up just to see if I did well on the test. So he sent me down to Honduras. I knew I didn't do great on the test, and I knew I kind of probably just wanted to get out. So I started calling a guy named Drew Schlesinger, which I didn't know his name at the time, Embassy Suites in Times Square, saying, hey, I want to work at a hotel. I worked part-time in the hotel on the weekends at Overland Park when I was in the military. And long story short, after many, many calls, his assistant gets on the phone, and my brother knew her. And anyway, there was a connection. He gets on the phone and he goes, man, you're a pain in my ass. I'll give you the night manager job. So I get to Embassy Suites, Times Square. I don't know my ass from my elbow. And I became the night manager of Embassy Suites. And that's how I started my hotel career.
Was it at that job you started to get the systems in place?
No, it was at that job I was petrified, and I should have been wearing a diaper because I was going to pee myself. It was more about learning that when you're in charge, you got to take responsibility. So I was very insecure. I just wasn't. I mean, I was a nasty person to be around. Probably. I remember one guy after I fired him. It changed my life. I fired him, and he's standing in the corner, or actually in the doorway. He went downstairs to get changed because he was supposed to leave the hotel. And he comes in my office in the doorway, and he's a big guy, and he looks at me and he said, "Like, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be gone." And he said, "I want to tell you something." Very calmly, he goes, "I want to tell you something. I'll explain something to you. I didn't do my job, and I agree with you. I probably don't belong to be here. I probably deserve to be terminated. I agree with that. But you don't own my spirit, and you're not allowed to take my spirit." He said probably a couple of curse words, and he walked out. I never forgot that as long as I lived, because he's right. What I didn't learn in the military was, yes, there's 2 ways of doing things: by your rank or by trying to convince people that the team has a better way or you have a better way. So that really taught me that I was in charge of taking care of people and moving the ball forward, but I have no right to let my insecurity get the best of me. So that changed everything. But in the military really did teach me systems, and it taught me if you go a little further, you do a little more, you go a lot further. I worked for the guy who eventually became the general in charge of nuclear assurance for America. I worked when I was in Honduras for the guy who became director of leadership at West Point. So I worked for some badass people, some really, really great leaders. So I learned systems and I learned how a team's supposed to work, but I was still very insecure.
You know, one of the things that I loved about your shows, and I love systems. I have a 5-page SOP on how to make a good cup of coffee. You know, that's what I love is, you know, you go in, you observe, you can make the changes, make the decisions. You know, how do you do that? How do you go into a hotel? And now some are obvious, right? But how do you get the employees to do the buy-in?
You don't get the employees to do the buy-in. You buy in. And once you buy in to the culture, bad or good, you buy into it. You're like, okay, this culture sucks. So we as a team are gonna fix it. And then we're gonna create a buy-in. By fixing it, sometimes you have to give people their opinion, whether they like it or not. You don't ask for their opinion, you give it to them. So you buy into the bad culture. And so by buying into the bad culture, you realize this is a bad culture. Nobody wants to sit here. So you're going to be the guy that's going to be the person that's going to make some changes. So you start getting rid of people and bringing in, I always say, good people bother me more than average people because you were so close to being great, but you stopped. I read that quote somewhere, and I think that is one of the best quotes I've ever read. So I'm annoyed by good people. I like great people. I like being surrounded by the best people. And I learned long ago, if I'm surrounded by the best people, I'll look even smarter because I'm not that good. But if I hire smarter people and better people, I'll look that good. So I go in, I try to understand the culture, buy into that culture, bad or good, start changing it to what the team wants. And then once you get, undeniable people, you just get out of their way and say, thank you very much. And you need a cup of coffee?
Wow. Okay, so when you walk in, again, I'm just looking at it from what I see, you know, on the show. But are there people that you can target that you know the second that you walk in that shouldn't be there? They're going to be gone. And you said it. They could be good people, not great people, but they could be bringing down the whole hotel.
You know what a good person is compared to a great person? Is a good person doesn't care. I mean, a great person doesn't care about me. A good person's worried about me. A good person's worried if he's going to get promoted. A good person's worried if they're gonna, if I'm gonna like them. Great people are too busy being great and too busy with the task. They can give crap less if I exist. They know I'm the guy. They know they got to respect me, and they got to, but I got to earn that respect. But they're interested in the mission. And if I'm the guy that's going to bring them to the mission and explain the mission to them, they love me and they'll back me up. But if I'm not, they're going to eventually either leave or just push me out of the way and get me fired so they can go and do what they're supposed to do. So that's what great people do. Good people, not saying that all good people, but I typically when I come in, the people that I'm dealing with are average at best and usually below. Usually executives, never the employees. Employees I've always found to be, they'll go which way you go. So typically 99% of employees I keep, they're fine. They love me. I love them eventually. But it's usually the executives and that team that I got to just move out because I've never seen a hotel or a business called a business cruise employee. If you're in charge of a business, I never understood this. If you're in charge of a business, and all of a sudden your business is out of business. Okay. And I'm not talking now. I'm talking typically. Well, there's a couple of things going on, right? Maybe you made a bad decision, financial decision, or maybe your employees really suck and you didn't do anything about it. You didn't do anything to hold them to a standard. So I always go after the leadership. And if you're good and you step up, I get out of your way. If you're not, I'm like glue. You're not going anywhere. I mean, me and you are going to be very good friends. And the key is if I'm talking to you a lot, you're in trouble. If I'm not talking to you, you're pretty good. Until I talk to you a lot and then I stop talking to you. And if I stop talking to you, then you're in trouble. Because I don't get mad, I don't yell and scream anymore. I just get very quiet and decide the exit strategy for that person in order to do it in a very humble and respectful way. Because you never want to hurt anybody. You always think, dead by the grace of God go I. But they will go. I mean, I will not hold on to mediocre people.
Well, I hope you keep talking then. So What are the common denominators that you find in a good hotel or even just in people in general or a bad hotel?
If you own a hotel and you live in Hawaii and your hotel is in New York, and I call it my first good step. You take a good step in the morning. Your housekeeper's taking a good step. What does that mean? That means you understand the mission statement. You're a positive person. You understand what you want that hotel to generate, not only in money, but in feeling. So your mission statement and the hotel's mission statement are the same. So if I go to you and I go, hey, Mr. Hotel Guy, what's the mission statement of your business in your hotel? And you tell me. Then I go to the housekeeper and I go, hey, Miss Housekeeper, Mr. Housekeeper, what is the mission statement of the hotel? And they tell me. If they both know the mission statement, that hotel runs well. If the hotel owner and the housekeeper have two different mission statements, it's over. And so that's the common denominator. The person at the top and the person cleaning the toilets have to be family and they have to be bonded. Not maybe emotionally, but by a common denominator. The common denomination, what is my mission every day? If the mission of the owner is just to make a lot more money and the mission of the housekeeper is just to pay the bills, that's not going to cut it. The mission's got to be, we want to do better so we can all do better and we can all grow. And that's the common denominator for success. And the common denominator of failure is the opposite of that.
So let's go back to the Embassy Hotel and let's talk about how you grew from that. So you came out as a night manager. Where did you go from there?
Well, first of all, let's go back up and tell you how that changed my life. And I never, ever, ever talk about it. I don't even think it's in my book. I had 3 months into working there, a young lady committed suicide in front of me. She jumped off the roof. She was 16 years old. And she felt that she just felt she wasn't living up to the standards of people around her. I'll just say that. And she literally jumped off the roof in Times Square right in front of me. She got on the roof, the alarms went off, we went up there, and she is at the edge of the roof. The roof's about 4 feet. She's probably like maybe 4'9". She climbs up, and as I'm going to get a radio from my engineer, I turn around and there she was, and she jumped. And before she jumped, I said, "What are you doing up here?" She said she was taking pictures. I said, "No, you're not." She goes, "You won't understand." And she jumped. And so her jumping off that roof took, in my mind, an hour and a half for her to jump, for her to hit bottom. But she hit the roof of the Palace Theater steps and then she bounced off and it felt like forever. I go into an absolute shock. My engineer slaps me. I actually just had this conversation. I haven't spoken to him in 30 years and I just happened to find him and we were talking and he goes, "I don't remember you slapping me." I said, "Dude, I still have the scars. You slapped me really hard." And he slapped me out of my days. I go down in the elevator, which seemed like forever. And as soon as I hit the lobby, I did what I had to do to make sure everybody was notified. The police were notified, did everything I can. I was a suspect because I was up there with her, but then they found a 3-page suicide note. And so I learned a lot about, you got to shut it off in order to go forward. So I had to shut off my pain to take over the situation. I took over the situation and then I was able to be in pain. And I went swimming every day after that to kind of get it out of my head. And it's the worst thing I ever did because now I can't swim across a pool without thinking about it. So that changed my life because I understand what the safety and security is all about in hotels. So one of the things you'll see in Hotel Impossible is I'm a safety crazy person. And people like you're a service guy. So no, I'm a safety guy. And at the end of the day, safety and service equal money. But I'm a safety security guy. And it's all because of that. So I take what I do real seriously. Matter of fact, I was shocked by traveling around this world and seeing how horrifying some of the fire codes and security codes are in some jurisdictions. In New York City, man, you can't move. The safety and security and fire safety is so critical. And that's when I was at the Embassy Suites, I didn't want to jump over that because that was critical for my overview of the hotel business. And then I went on to work at my dream was to work at the Plaza Hotel. And my dream person to work for at the time was the owner of the Plaza Hotel. And I'll just let you, no longer would I want to work for that individual. And I'll just tell you that it was 1990 Plaza Hotel. You can Google who the owner was. And it was my dream to be to work at the Plaza. I was there for 2 years, and then I went on to the Maclo. Then I went on to a company called Etche Pines, which is a bread company. Turned that around, and then went on to the Lucerne Hotel, the Algonquin Hotel, and then I was the first vice president of Tishman, running assets in New York City. And then one day, I put my hands in my face and said, "My wife said, what are you doing?" She goes, "Uh-oh." And I was like, I take my hands away from my face and I said, "I don't want to make rich people richer anymore. I want to do a TV show about the hotel business to show how great this industry is." And boom, everything just kind of took off from there.
How long did it take you to go from that thought to getting the first one into production?
2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah, and just you probably know. I mean, getting a TV show done. I mean, as you go through the process. Listen, if you follow TV, you know that they don't just hand out TV shows. So every step of the way, they were saying it's 1,000,000,000 to 1, 1,000,000 to 1. And as I got closer and closer, like, hey, dude, now we're 7 to 1. I go, what do you mean 7 to 1? I go, yeah, they got rid of everything else, and they have 7 pilots, and they're only going to green white light 1 this season. It's like, really? I'm 1 in 7. I'm never going to get the show. And they're like, Anthony, you were 1 in 1,000,000,000, and now you 1 to 7. You're okay. And we got greenlit, and I was very fortunate. But it was a lot easier for some reason with timing or whatever it was. It was a lot easier for me, but it still took maybe less than 2 years. But it was pretty much a straight path. Me and my partners Leo and Lynn Rossi, we looked at we said, hey, we want to do this. We put a little outline together. We pitched a production company. Several wanted it. When we pitched, and then the production company went to an agent. Then the agent pitched it to a TV network, and they bought it. So it was pretty quick for TV.
How did you find all these hotels?
Oh, that's easy, man. There's a lot of bad hotels. That's easy. That's the easiest thing in the world. There's a lot of bad hotels out there.
Oh, wow. I kind of assumed that, the things I saw on TV and watch your show. I watch your show quite a bit. And, it just amazed me either about the people, the processes, or the hotel itself and what you were able to do. Now, I'm kind of curious. So we were just talking about Larry Broughton, and you brought him in as a consultant. He had nothing. He had no idea that you were going to give him a call. And you've done that on every one of your hotels and possible. You just pick up the phone and call somebody?
Well, what I say to him, matter of fact, you can ask him. I say to him, I go, he picks up the phone. I go, idiot, you picked up the phone again? And I was like, you see my number and you're still picking up the damn phone? Pack a bag. We're going to Alaska. When? Now. Pack a bag. We're going. So that's how it works. So, but let me tell you kind of how the process is. So there's a production company, right?
Mm-hmm.
We created the show. We work with a production company. We sold the Travel Channel. Travel Channel gives us a budget. We produce the show. So we have a location manager. The location manager puts out some ads saying, hey, we're coming to your community. Would you like us or help? Or a lot of people find us. So that's how it works. I never know what's going on. I don't get involved. They do what we call a dossier. So they're like, hey, Anthony, we flew out to this hotel in Wyoming. It's got 3 kids. The mother is crazy. Their father wants to keep it. The kids want to sell it, or vice versa. And, and they need your help. That's all I know. I don't see the hotel. I don't see the people. I know the name of the hotel. I know where it's located. And I know some of the premise of what's going on. Meaning, again, it's a bad hotel and somebody wants to sell it, somebody doesn't. That's it. That's all I know. I don't look at P&Ls. I don't look at cash flows typically. Once in a while, when I get real nervous, I'll say, hey, let me see a P&L. I want to see if I can help this hotel. So, and then we get there, and now the producers have been there. And so they go back with me, with my crew, and they put me in a car. They drive me to across the street or into the parking lot of the hotel. They mic me up. My back is to the hotel. It drives the production company crazy because they're like, just look at the damn hotel. I was like, no. I was like, when you guys are ready to call action, turn me around. They could turn me around. I look at the hotel. We do what we got to do. Like, they may say, hey, go to housekeeping. We want you to talk to somebody. Go to the owner. We want to talk to somebody. So there's that, but a lot of it is just me running around figuring it out. And, and they also, at the end, especially the last 5 seasons, they really knew me. So they knew what I was going to say or what they need to prepare. So a lot of times when I say, hey, I need something, it's already there because they know how my brain works. The renovations are, as you see them, they're done in 2 or 3 days. They have a little prep time, but they're done in 2 or 3 days. So when you see me seeing the lobby or the front desk and then we gut it, I mean, that's happening in real time.
Wow.
And so, and then I don't see anybody on camera. And Larry will tell you, it's the realest show on television. I see nobody on camera. I don't talk to anybody. I don't talk to Bellman, Dorman owners. When they say cut, I go to my room. I come back out. I don't stay at that hotel, so I don't get close to anybody. Mm-hmm. And what I always tell people is, why do you do that? So because I'm a nice guy. So if somebody, I find out, God forbid, has cancer, or somebody's going through a serious problem that they don't want to talk about on air, and I don't want to, disclose that because I'm not going to be that guy. I don't want to know about it. I just don't want to know about it. Like I'm there to tell you your business problem. and to solve your business problem. I'm not there to feel bad for you. I'm not there to be soft, because if I'm soft, I'm not doing you any good. So if I give you the medicine you need to take and you listen to me, it will make everything better, and you'll be able to handle with your circumstances hopefully a little better and a little bit more efficiently. So it's hard for the production and for producers to deal with that, because we went through a lot of producers, because I just won't compromise that. And then once I got my team and we clicked, it was the greatest team in the world. And oh my God, the last 5 seasons of Hotel Impossible were a dream. The first 5 seasons were a nightmare. Yeah, but for me, the first 5 were a nightmare. I loved the people I worked with the first 5 seasons, but it was a lot more complicated than it needed to be because of one individual that I'm still friends with, but it was just complicated. Once we figured it out, and I figured out that, hey, I need people that are just going to put the camera up and say go, and we're all on the same team, it just was great. And if you're really a fan of the show, you'll see from season 4 to season 5 is a different feel. In the beginning, we were making it more like, the lighting was better and things were better. And then season 5, we didn't give a crap about angles. We didn't give a crap about lighting. We just run and gun, and it was just a better show.
Now, did you ever go to a hotel, you walk in, and you would think, why am I here? And it wasn't that bad.
Yes and no. But my team knows that if there's not a real reason for me to be there, I'm done. I'm going to quit the show. I'm just going to walk off and never go back. So I trust them after a while to know when I first walk in. I'll give you a perfect example. My first show, before I trusted anybody, was Gurney's Inn in Long Island. I walk around and I see this place is just not great. And then all of a sudden I walk into the spa, and it's a 5-star spa. So that was a good, I walked in and I thought this was in bad shape. But then I was like, oh my God, they really know what they're doing, but there's some miscommunication. So I've learned to trust the system. I've learned to trust the people around me to just go do what you do, and it will reveal itself for good or bad. And there will be a story. 108 shows, and we never didn't get a show. We never didn't get the story. People have scripts. People have outlines. We don't. There's other people. A lot of people compare me to one show. I won't mention the show or the host. And it turns my stomach, because I know that that's a scripted show. And I was like, how can you get that me and him or that show are alike? It's like not even the same atmosphere, same stratosphere. I will tell you, Restaurant Impossible, Mark Summers and Robert Irvine, that's a real show. Mark Summers used to be the producer, and now they're doing it again. That Robert, I've been on his set. That's a real show. There's no script going on there.
Yeah, it doesn't look, and it looks very similar to what you're doing as well. So what about on the other side? So you've got these rooms that get done, and you completely revamp these hotels. On the show, I've seen people that just don't want your advice. Doesn't that just infuriate you? Like, how do you walk away from that? Because there's been times on that show that people just want to go back to what they had.
This is what infuriates me. Well, I said nothing infuriates me. When you see me get upset, or you see me square up on somebody, or I get pretty aggressive, it's because I think you care and I think you're able to change. Mm. You've seen probably 4 times I've walked out. And when people say, why do you walk out? I said, because you can't manage crazy. That's the definition of crazy. And when I know if I'm going to lose a fight, I'm not going to fight. If I think I'm going to be able to teach you something in that fight, then I'm going to fight. But if I have nothing to teach you and you think you're smarter than me, why am I going to fight? I don't care. Like, as soon as I get on the plane, I'm going to forget you exist. So why am I going to fight for you if you don't want to fight for yourself? So if you're willing to fight with me and you're willing to give me a good argument, I'm loving you, and we eventually get to hugs and kisses and all that. But if you're like just being like you just don't make sense to me, and you're fighting me when I'm not even fighting you, then goodbye, God bless you. And that's when my producers get upset, because then you usually get a moment, but you don't get a long show. But every time I walked out, we've always been able to cut it together. And also, I'm smart enough from a production standpoint to know if I'm about to go, there's a couple of things I'm probably going to go take care of before I walk out. So I'll make sure, like, if I know we have some design component, because once we do design, there's some trade outs that we're doing because we don't have a big budget. So I know that design's got to be done. So because there's trade outs that got to be spoken about at the end of the show. So I'll make sure that we take care of that. So we'll give them the design, but I'm still leaving. So on one show, we actually walked out, and my producer said, hey, dude, we can't walk away from the design. We're going to owe hundreds of thousands of dollars in buyback. I said, fine, you go deal with the designer. She wants to stay, she can stay, but I'm leaving. And she stayed and it was controversial, and they went back and forth with the owner, and she was very tough with the owner too. But we got a show. So at the end of the day, we stay true to who we are. We stay authentic, and we've always gotten the show.
When you're dealing with these designers, they've got to be special people, or how are they compensated? Because they come in, they have to take a look at, just an inferior room. I'll be nice. And they've got to come up with a concept, get contractors, and get something done within a period of 2 days.
Well, there's a little fronting on that when it comes to the producers. The producers, and they work together a little bit.
Okay.
So they have a little bit of an understanding, but that space is completely gutted when I'm there. So everything, they may know what color paint they're going to use and stuff like that, and have some supplies. But and a lot of times I walk in and I'm like, "What did you think you were going to do?" No, we're not doing a lot. We're doing the bedroom. And I will tell you this: one, they're not compensated well. Your mascot next to you gets paid more than they did probably, and it's an unforgiving job because I get all the credit. They cut most of their scenes out, which is horrific, and they work 10 times harder than I do. When I go to dinner with my team at 6:00, the designer's there with her assistant until 7:00 in the morning sometimes. So the designer, I mean, without them, there is no show. Without Blanche Garcia, who's the first OG designer, right, there is no show. She was amazing, insane, and everybody fell in love with our chemistry, the way we went back and forth with each other. And if it wasn't for her, there wouldn't have been a show. And then other designers that took the mantle forward. Without those designers, there's no Anthony show. It was much more their show than it was my show in a lot of ways.
I want to talk about the way that you come in, assess, and then, was there a formula for you that it was tough love, then you built them up, and it always looked like you're pretty tough on the people at the beginning?
There's zero formula. Zero. It always fell into a formula because human nature is pretty simple, right? If you think about it, it's where humans are basically, Maslow hierarchy of needs. In 1943, Abraham Maslow invented Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and he broke us down into basically 7 components. And those 7 components, every single one, whether you're rich, poor, black, white, Irish, doesn't matter. We're all the same. We all have those needs. So the first few needs are safety, security, wanting to belong, food, shelter, sex. So we all have the same needs. So I go in with that understanding, and it always falls back to that. It always falls back. Am I making them feel safe? Are they going to have food at the end of the day? Are they going to be able to drink water? Are they going to be able to love their family? So it all falls down to that. So there is zero formula, zero. I follow the person. So I'm a chameleon. So I go where they go. So you want to be soft and nice and sweet and talk to me like a business person? That's the kind of shows I love. That's the kind of shows I signed up for. You want to square up with me and think you're smarter than me? Fine. Maybe you are smarter than me, but prove it. And if you can't prove it and you're just going to yell at me, I'm going to walk away. If you can prove it and I'm not seeing it, we're going to battle. And eventually we're going to come somewhere in the middle. So there is zero formula. I always say, I laugh because in the beginning, I can understand people being hesitant. But as we went, I thought people would be smarter. But what they thought was, here's a celebrity guy. He comes in, he sees things, he goes crazy. He teaches us how to do it right. He kisses me at the end, and then he gives me stuff. That is completely not the case. It's the furthest thing from the truth. We go in and we figure out and deal with what we have to deal with. And what drives the producers crazy, and you have to be a good producer to be on our show because there's no script. We may walk away without a show. There is a real good chance that we're not getting a show, and we have to tell Travel Channel we just pissed all your money away. But you have to trust it. You have to trust it. And the formula is there is no formula, and that's the God honest truth. Outside of a little bit of an outline, outside of knowing when we're going to take breaks, knowing when we want to be done, knowing when the airplanes are landing, when the airplanes are leaving. So yeah, there's, is the housekeeper on today? Is she going to be on tomorrow? So we'll shoot that scene tomorrow if I need to talk to a housekeeper. That's all, behind the scenes, and I don't get involved with that. But as far as I will say that I've been with them we shot the show for 9 years, and we've done 2 other shows with them. So we've done 3 shows, and I'm going to tell you this, and this is the God honest truth. It wasn't perfect, but never once has Travel Channel or the production company told me to do something. If a producer told me to do something, I just didn't do it because it doesn't matter, because I outranked them. It's my show. I'm executive producer, and I'm the guy in front of the camera. So if a producer wants me to do something that is against what I want to do, I'm not doing it. But Travel Channel, which has a little bit more leverage on me, never asked me, not once did I ever get a call, ever once. Matter of fact, the Marine was vice president of Nickelodeon, and he said to me once when we pitched the show, he came on later, and Brian was his name, and he said to me, after asking me why I loved the hotel business, 20 minutes after I came off the ceiling, he turned to the producer and said, put a camera on him and don't shut it off. And that's what they did. And it was the freest, in some ways, the freest experience I've ever had in my life. Never once did they say I have to be more funny, I have to be more angry, I have to be less this, less that. And if it did, I would have quit. I threatened to quit every single show. So if they ever put me in that situation, I would definitely quit. I literally, if matter of fact, one day I don't think I threatened to quit, and the producer calls me and he goes, the president, and he goes, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You didn't call me and threaten to quit today." I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm good today." So listen, I never needed it more than I needed to be to make sure the owner gets what they want. I don't care about the Travel Channel. I don't care about ratings. I don't care about anybody. I care about I'm there for 4 days away from my family, not making any calls, not doing anything for my business, abandoning my business basically for 9 years. I'm just all in. And when I'm done, I'm done. I go home and I forget about it. But I owe it to that owner. He's allowing me to come in and I can do anything I want. He signs a contract that makes me basically do anything I want. And I'm opening up his medicine chest. And if I'm going to make fun of what's in his medicine chest, shame on me. If I'm going to respect the medicine chest, say, hey, man, you don't need these pills. Why are you taking those? That's different. You know what I'm saying? If I go in there and I say, listen, you got to take this medicine, you're taking the wrong medicine. You're taking the medicine of everybody kissing your ass because you're the owner. I'm going to give you the medicine if you're an asshole. And if you can't get over that you're an asshole, that's not my problem.
Let's talk about memorable moments, good or bad. A couple of ones that you're really proud of with Hotel Impossible and some that are on the opposite spectrum.
On TV or behind the scenes?
You know what? If you've got some behind the scenes, that would be great.
Probably in the beginning, not understanding all the roles and probably not having appreciation for how hard everybody was working. I mean, we have 18 people on the show on when we're there, and then there's a lot more in the office. I needed to get what I needed to get to do a good show, and I don't apologize for that. But I probably didn't appreciate at the beginning how much went into it. And then when I got the team that I wanted, not the team I inherited, I had a lot more appreciation because they brought me in more and I brought them in more. And we understood each other. We cried together. We laughed together. And they tell me to go screw myself. And that's what I needed sometimes. There was a producer, Maddie, who I talk about from time to time. One day she's on set and I was pissed off about something. And I had a lot of respect for her, but she was talking to somebody. I go, and I give her the high sign, like, Maddie, I need to talk to you. And I did it maybe 2 or 3 times. And she steps over to me about 4 steps. She squares up on me. And she's probably half my size and I'm not that tall. She looks at me and she goes, could you please just go over there and just shut up for a minute? I got this. And she had no idea what I was going to ask her. So she finishes, goes, what do you want? And I asked her and she goes, that's what I was dealing with. I go, oh, you're reading my mind now? And that was it. I was like, okay, I get it. I understand. And now it's no longer my show. It's no longer me. It's us. And it was the greatest feeling of my life because now I realized I'm just another person and just, yeah, I got to get what I got to get, but they got to get what they got to get. And so that was important. I had great people making me look good. I'd say on the show, there's just so many great moments. My all-time favorite, I don't have an all-time favorite, so I'd be lying if I said my all-time favorite. But I would say one of the great ones was there was an owner in California, and he had 2 sons. It was the Appenhalf Lodge. And he came from his country and Austria, built a life for 40 years. And basically he was getting in his own way at this point. And his sons were very capable of taking over the business with their wives. And there was a moment in the show that once he decides, again, treating him with respect, he decides I'm the guy that is finally convinced him. So we tell his sons, in the parking lot, we're all crying. I'm crying. I'm behind a white van. I'm hysterical. I mean, it was such an emotional moment. And one of the sons, who again is like Larry Bratton size, right? Jumbo size. He's like 18. He's 18 feet tall. And he looks at me and I go, why are you crying? And he goes, because I knew the day would come where we would take over. I just thought it would come overlooking the coffin. And that blew my brains out, and I cried because my dad died when I was 2, so I completely got that, and that was an incredible moment. And also something happened on that show that's never happened. I don't stay for dinner. Like after the show's done, I don't stay and commiserate with everybody. I'm gone. Like matter of fact, I'm like, boom. Like you don't even know when there's white smoke coming out of my butt because I want to get home to my family. So literally, they say cut, and I'm gone. I mean, literally from the second they say cut to the second I'm in the car going to my hotel room to get my stuff to go to the airport or to go to sleep to get up early is literally maybe 2 minutes, maybe less than that. So they asked me, and then my crew said no, he wouldn't do that. They asked me, hey, would you stay? We want to have dinner with the crew and with you. And I was like, no, thank you. I appreciate it. And then father looked at me and he goes, please stay. So I stayed. And when we left at the end of the dinner, we had a couple drinks and dinner. We hugged each other and we were looking at each other like, bye. We're like, bye, bye, bye. And like, that was like he became my father. He became my family. And that was a great moment. And I'd say a moment that was maybe a darker moment or a moment that was just unfortunate. I would say anytime I had to walk out of a hotel because you have $1 million commercial and you just made the audience never want to stay at your hotel.
Wow.
Because the good thing about doing a show and, being authentic is the audience is there because they want to see, they're already thinking ahead of me. If you've watched 5 shows, you already know what I'm going to say or not say, or Anthony's not going to like that. So I'm the guy. Like the audience is coming for me. And if you're mean to me, the audience is going to go after you. And so yeah, on the other side of that, if you're nice to me, they'll fall in love with you and not care about me. They'll say anything was a little rough on that guy and that guy didn't deserve it. So when you're being an idiot and you're not doing what you need to do to make yourself successful, the audience will turn on you.
Yeah. And I guess on social media, you'll just get beat up.
Yeah. You'll get bad. You'll get beat up bad.
Wow. Let's talk about you've done some traveling. You were talking about safety issues. What are some of the worst things that you've seen in hotels when you've been traveling?
Front doors that are made out of, closet doors, no fire alarm systems at work. Nobody knows the fire alarm systems, how they work. There was a young lady in Arizona, worked there 19 years. Her fire alarm system didn't work. I go, where's your command station? She goes, I have no idea. I said, turn around, open that door. She goes, oh, that's a command station? I said, yeah. I said, it doesn't work? She goes, I don't know. I don't think so. I go, see that toggle switch? Put it on, see what happens. She puts it on, the freaking fire alarm went off. For 19 or 18 years, she ran that hotel, no idea what the fire command post was.
Wow.
The first time I ever hit anything, I punched a mailbox. I almost broke my hand. I was just like, are we out of our minds? We almost killed the entire hotel for 19 years. We don't know where the fire alarm is. And and the owner lived on the top floor, and he was an invalid. And God forbid there was a fire, that guy was never getting out because she didn't flip my line, or not my line, but what I said was, all you had to do is flip the switch from off to on. And I walked out in disgust. Like, that was just shocking to me. And again, I didn't want to hurt her because I liked the woman. She was a nice lady. But it was just like, what? So yeah, that was a moment where, and there was other hotels that I've walked out on. And one hotel I actually stayed, and I'm not going to mention the hotel, but I will just say this. There's been 3 hotels on the show that didn't listen to me, and there's been 3 deaths in their hotel. And I will tell you that I can tie it to standards that were unfollowed, in my opinion.
That's scary.
That's as much as I'll say about that, because I don't want to get
Yeah. I'm kind of interested because what you're preaching, what you're talking about, and you're seeing these rapid improvements in people working together, building a performance-based culture, working with systems. Are there any steps or any advice that you could give to entrepreneurs or small business owners that might be watching?
Listen to the person that nobody listens to. If you go to Disney World, the people that are sweeping the floor are the people that know everything. They put a lot of training into those people. So listen to the people that nobody listens to. That, to me, if there's any common denominator, that's the common denominator. You want success? Listen to your housekeepers, listen to your bellman, listen to your doorman, and don't listen to them. Like, I'm not a guy that walks in and go, hey, how's the football game? How's your kids? How's your wife? How's this? I'm not that guy. I know when's your birthday because my assistant tells me. I know your name. I love you. I take care of you, but I don't give a damn about the football game. I don't come in after a Sunday and I don't come in on a Sunday and on a Monday morning, and all of a sudden spend an hour and a half talking about the football game. But when you need me, I'm there. When a boss is in your way, I get them out of your way. When you say a policy sucks, I agree with you probably. If you need a raise and we didn't give you one, and like we should have, so I'll fix that. So I'm the guy that is completely there for you, but I'm not your best friend hanging out and patting you on the back every 5 seconds.
Now, let's talk about, we've talked about your backstory. Let's talk about a quote. What's a quote that you live by?
Passion changes everything, period.
You live that quote.
Listen, I don't do things I'm not passionate about. And I'll be honest with you, the only reason we're doing this podcast is because Larry asked me to. And I don't do things that I don't know about or I'm not interested in. And Larry said, do it. I didn't know anything about you. I love doing it. I'm glad I'm doing it. I think you're an unbelievable interviewer. But I owe Larry a lot. Like, Larry answers my phone call when he shouldn't, and he does things that he shouldn't do and puts himself in very uncomfortable positions on TV. And I'm a loyal guy. And if Larry told me I needed to walk to your office to do it, I'll do it. Passion changes everything. I'm passionate. I'm passionate about my friends. I'm passionate about the people that are good to me. I'm passionate about what I do for a living. Also, one of my other new favorite quotes, I have 2 of them. I was sitting in a room somewhere. I don't know where the hell I was. I was traveling somewhere in the world. And Norman Lear, the great producer, had just written a book. And somebody asked him, what's the secret? And he goes, I get asked that question all the time. And he goes, I don't know. There's no secret. Because the only thing I can tell you is put your dreams out in the atmosphere and the world will conspire for your success. I jumped out of bed, wrote that down. And I was like, I think that is the greatest thing I've ever heard. Think about that. Dream your dreams, put it out there, and the world somehow will conspire to make sure you're successful. Brilliant quote. I mean, that was one of my, it'll be in my book. It's one of the favorite things. And I just heard another one that I really like, and I can't remember it, but it's really good. And it'll come to me in a second. I know I had another one. What the hell was it? It'll come to me. It'll come to me. But those are the 2 quotes that that inspire me.
I really like that one from Norman Lear.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's unbelievable. And it's everything. It's everything.
Hey, you guys, and I'm talking about people in the hotel industry right now, are going through hell. What is there any news? Is there anything that you're seeing right now that is going to help the hospitality industry come back?
Yeah, the hospitality industry will come back. It'll be bigger and better than ever. It'll be the roaring 20s, but we got to get there. And unfortunately, there's going to be more pain than less pain because of what's happening now with the virus going up. Vaccines here, that's good news. There are going to be some major changes politically. Whatever aisle you fall on, it doesn't matter. It's not about Trump or not Trump, Republican, not Republican, Democrat. It doesn't matter. What matters is hopefully we can stop talking about the election and get to the business of the people. And anytime there's an election year, we all know everything goes on pause. So hopefully we can get more stimulus. Hopefully the restaurant workers in New York City will survive, but it's bad. 800 people just got laid off from Marriott in Times Square just today. It's insane. It will get better. It will come back. But like Larry, who was a Green Beret, he was Special Forces. There's bad days, and all you want to do is get to lunch, right? There are bad days, and you got to put one foot in front of the other. You got to make sure you save your pennies. You got to make sure you're good to your family. And you got to make sure that you're thinking and you're creative and you're taking these opportunities. There's a lot of millionaires and billionaires and trillionaires being made today, okay, because they're figuring it out. So right now, every single person should be getting a PhD and figuring it out. That's it. If you want a PhD, get it and figuring it out. You got to figure it out. The reason you do your show, the reason you've had success, because you figure it out. You're not waiting for somebody. I always say, success doesn't come in a package. It doesn't show up at your doorstep in a box with a ribbon around it. And somebody, the UPS man, hands it to you and you open it up and go, oh, is this success? It doesn't work that way. You got to find out where the corners are, where the curves are, where the cracks are, where the crevices are. You got to go under the wall, over the wall, through the wall. And that's just not a mindset that my butt, pays the check that my mouth writes, right? So if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I can't do it, I'm probably going to tell you, hey, man, I thought I was going to be able to do it. I can't do it. I can't remember that really happening too often. But you say you're going to do it, you'll figure it out. But and I tell my kids all the time, I have twins that are 21. One's graduating college Thursday in theater. and theaters closed, and one's graduating, her twin's graduating in June, and my baby's a freshman in college and she's playing volleyball. Every single thing, my headphones just went out. Every single thing that they thought was going to look like 2020 isn't. My senior graduated from home. My other senior in college, my senior in high school, my senior in college is graduating Thursday from the basement. My other daughter, a lot of opportunities, so many things. Proms were missed, so many things. Everybody missed. Our dearest friend, who literally lives 50 feet away from me, died of COVID. So it's just been an upside down year. And he was like a grandfather to my children, and everything got turned upside down. Okay, this sucks, man. But when you're born, you make a deal once you understand what life's about. The deal is there's going to be great days, and there's going to be this sucks days, and you've got to learn in these suck days. You've got to put a foot in front of the other, and that's what our military does. That's what hardworking people do every single day. Housekeepers, I love them because they get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They feed their kids. They get their kids off to school. They go and clean 18 toilets a day. They come home. They make dinner. They help their kids with their homework. They spend some time. Maybe they pray. Maybe they have family time. They fall asleep at 10 o'clock in the morning at 10 o'clock at night, and they do it all over again and again and again. And they never get maybe where they want to be. And so, but they put one foot in front of the other, and eventually, hopefully they get there. But every single day they have pride in themselves. They have pride in their family, and they do it. So, that's how I live my life.
When I'm talking to entrepreneurs, the one thing that the one thing that is in common with everybody, well, first is resilience, but the second thing is they take advantage of opportunity. They take action. And I think that's what you're saying. Like if you can see it or spot it or take action, then you're going to achieve something.
I really thought when I was younger, somebody was going to hand me that opportunity. I thought somebody was just going to say, "Hey, Anthony, here's your opportunity," and I got to find it for myself. With that said, you got to take those moments. In my book, I call them moments. Leo Rossi, he's in Analyze This. He's in my hotel. No idea who he is. I've always wanted to do a movie about my life. Don't know anything about movies. I see Leo. He looks like a nice guy. He drops his script all over the lobby of the Lucerne Hotel. He's laughing and joking about it. He's like a comedian. And he's picking it up. And I was running up the stairs to go to I'm a very intense guy. So I was running up the stairs to go to this meeting. I can't miss. And I said to myself, yes, Anthony, there's an actor. You don't know who he is. He's in Hollywood. Maybe he can help you with your movie down the road. I wasn't really want to take advantage of him, but I was like, maybe he's a nice guy. Anyway, so I missed my meeting. I talked to Leo. We became good friends. One day we're talking in the office, and he said, "Man, your life story is great. We should do a movie about it." I said, "Hey, that's a good thought." Boom. Next thing I know, he's my best friend. He's 74 years old, and me and him, like I spoke to him, I think this morning, and he lives in California. And because I took that moment, I took that opportunity, that would have gone, and I wouldn't be here today. Everything would have been done. Everything in my life would have been 100% different if I didn't take that moment. My entire life, professional life, is different because of Leo Rossi. And that was a moment that wasn't handed to me. I took that opportunity, and then we created other things. And he's just been, it's been a phenomenal, it was one of the greatest moments of my life. And every day I tell him that. Every day, there's not a time that goes by I don't say I love you and I appreciate you. And I said to him one day, because being a character actor in Hollywood, and when you look up his resume, you'll see he's been in everything from The Accused. He's just an amazing actor, and he has ups and downs. Like, so maybe 10 years ago it was a down, and I said, "How do you get through it?" And he's an actor, he's a writer, he's a producer, and he said, "Anthony, I'll never be a victim." Words that I live by. Anthony, I'll never be a victim. And in Hollywood, there's a lot of victims.
Yeah, and just business in general, there's a lot of victims, a lot of people that put the emphasis on what people say instead of working through it. It's tough. It's tough being, well, let's say in Hollywood, or being a small business owner, or being an entrepreneur. I deal with a lot of e-commerce, Amazon sellers, and man, the game can change overnight. And who you are connected to, or the network that you get involved with, they can make it or break it for you. So
And I think that's true. Like I have LinkedIn Live, and I couldn't get LinkedIn Live because it's difficult. I happened to do something. I'll just say for a fan of mine, they wanted to pay me to show up to a birthday party. I was like, I don't get paid to go show up to birthday parties. You're a fan of mine. I'll do a video for you. And I did a video for his wife for free. And not knowing who this gentleman was, long story short, he was able to help me in something I was working on. I had no idea he can help me with that. I was just being a nice person and taking my moment of trying to pay back my fans. And so that's, and like, I don't look for fame and fortune. I look for opportunity to have access. I love access a lot more than power or money. I love access. And so if my daughter wants a job and I can make a phone call, if my friend says, hey, Anthony, I'm looking to buy a hotel. Can you bring capital? Can you find capital? Like, so my job is to ensure that my Rolodex has everybody's name in it. I'll give you an example. I said, well, I'll find out about the vaccine. I'll ask a friend of mine. She goes, who do you know about vaccines and asking people? I said, well, the guy that's on Joe Biden's staff, who's going to be his guru, was on my podcast, and him and I connected and we became friends. And now he's like the number one guy for, he knows what's going on. I'm going to call him and ask him, or next time he's on my podcast. And she just looked at me. She goes, you do know everybody. And I don't know everybody. It's just like, I make sure that I take the opportunity, and I make sure I don't waste my time with people that just try to, screw me.
Yeah. So just think, if you didn't take the opportunity to go and take that split-second decision and, go meet Leo Rossi,
Scares the shit out of me.
where would you be right now?
I'd be running hotels for rich people, making really good money, and maybe being happy and maybe not being happy. I was never going to not be okay. I would tell you I wouldn't have been living my life. I can't imagine when this is all said and done and I take my last breath. I mean, I don't know what ulterior universe I'm living in. I just don't, because it's crazy. I mean, I remember walking across, they were doing all these commercials for the show and the show and the show. And before I had a TV show, that night, the first night it was going to air, I thought that was the night next morning I was going to be famous. Well, I didn't realize that these commercials made me famous before I was famous. So I'm walking across Radio City Music Hall across 6th Avenue. And this young lady looks at me as I'm about to cross, and she points her finger in my chest and she goes, I know you. And I said, I know you, just kidding around. And I remember taking 2 or 3 steps and feeling horrifically nauseous and like sick to my stomach, because I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know what it's like that somebody knows me and didn't go to high school with me, who's not my friend or not my family. It was the weirdest sensation of my life. It was the strangest, weirdest, craziest thing. I could never explain it to anybody. I could never prepare for it. I could never thought about it. And the time I was across 6th Avenue, on the other side of 6th Avenue, west side of 6th Avenue, I was 100% comfortable with being noticed on the street. It took 5 seconds for me to get comfortable. And every single person that comes up to me to this day, I just got noticed in the bank. I take pictures with them. If they're wearing their mask, I make sure I take a picture with them. If they're not, I won't. But before then, I mean, I was hugging and kissing. There's not a person on earth that will say I did not spend a lot of time with them and did not make sure that I lived up to my authenticity of, I am appreciative and respectful of people spend time watching my show. Who the hell am I to be too busy to take a picture with you? So yeah, I'm living in a crazy universe in my head. And you don't make a lot of money. People think you make a lot of money doing reality shows. Unless you're Gordon Ramsay, you don't make a lot of money. So it's not about money and it's not about fame. It's about appreciation for somebody's craft. Like, I appreciate the lighting in your studio. I appreciate your soundproofing. I appreciate your mic. I appreciate the way you show up. I mean, this is a real podcast and with a great logo, and it just works, right? And it puts a lot of thought and effort into the details. You're obsessive compulsive, probably. You're very detailed. You can see it. And I respect that. In my business, I am. I've still, because everybody's filling up my house. I don't have my own office. So I basically don't set up my lighting every day. And sometimes it's good, sometimes bad. And that's mediocre and that's not acceptable. But I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. If I'm going to do this, it is what it is. I'm not going to spend an hour and a half every single day of my life setting up lighting. And I don't have a permanent space to do that. And I'm not willing to go outside my house to do it. So my long story short is you focus on what matters and you take your opportunity and you make sure you do it well.
What happens with that very small majority that are jerks or just don't like you? How do you work? How does your mind work with that?
It's none of my business who likes me.
Yeah, well, let's say that it might be on social media, it might be in the streets. Has anybody ever approached you and just kind of razzed you for a bit?
Never.
No?
No, never once. Very fortunate. If you go on Amazon Prime and you look at the ratings of the show,
Yeah.
I can't say we have the highest ratings of any reality show on Amazon, but I think we do. I think we're in the 97 percentile.
Wow.
And it's unheard of. And we're authentic. You don't have to like me. You don't have to want to have coffee with me, but you know that what I'm doing because I'm doing it for the common good of the owner, not for myself. So no, and a few times I have been harassed online. I just delete them and block them and move on with my life.
So you just let it bounce off your chest.
Yeah, I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. So I listen to Joe Rogan and he says, I post and ghost. And I like that. I don't post on Twitter, but on Twitter, he posts and ghosts. He posts and he moves on. And I don't post anything on Twitter, and I don't post anything political. Listen, if you can read through, if you know my political views by reading my Instagram or my social media or even watching my podcast, good luck and God bless you, because I can't imagine how you could. Right. You know, if whatever, and people have tried to put me in a box and say, well, you're this or you're that. And like, dude, you have no idea of my thoughts. And I have very strong opinions, but you have no idea because they're not important to what I do for my career. And when they are, and I need to speak up, like I did a video for Congress, I will speak up.
Post and ghost. Love it. All right. So let's talk about you moving forward in the future. What are some of your goals?
You know, I hate to really say it. I don't have any. And then that's a place to be. My only goal is to have my children be successful, be happy. As long as they're happy, as long as they're moving forward, I'm going to be happy. Personally, my goal is what my goal is today. I don't want to be told what to do, and I want to do what gets me out of bed in the morning. I want to be happy. And so right now, hopefully I'm working on a big project in California, a hotel project that I really want to do. That's more important than doing a TV show to me right now. And all my clients that I work with and all the speaking I do and all the interviews I do and all the mentoring I do and all the teaching I do, I just want to keep doing that. I have I'll tell you one thing I don't want to do. I don't want to be any more famous, and I don't want any, if I get another TV show that we're actually working on one, great. But I don't need it. What I need is I just need to be happy and listen, if I can retire, I would do exactly what I'm doing today.
I'm just kind of curious. The new show, we won't get into it, but is it the same demographic you're going after?
I don't know. I don't think in those terms. I don't think in demographics. I think we're going to be helping business people.
All right. I know that you have tons of things going on. Podcasts, television production. I mean, the consulting. You've got tons going on. How do you balance your life?
I rest a lot.
You rest a lot?
Yeah, I don't sleep much, but I rest a lot. I don't go to sleep sometimes. Like this morning, I didn't go to sleep at 5 o'clock in the morning. Not because I was working, I was resting. I was playing UFC. I was looking at TikTok. I was just completely, not working. But I just couldn't sleep. But usually I sleep well, but I only usually get 5 hours. But I rest during the day. Like I'll take an hour and sit in my car and have a sandwich. I'll call a friend. I'll walk on the beach. I'll go work out. Working out to me is keeping me, at an insane asylum. I mean, I have to work out every day, or not every day, 3-4 days a week, sometimes 5, and not to get bigger and stronger just because I don't want to wind up in a crazy house. So for me, getting that sweat, getting that, workout, especially I'm 55, getting older is everything.
Now, on this podcast, one of the main things we like to do is talk to successful people and find out some of their hurdles, some of the struggles that they had to get them to where they are today, how they got around it, and what did they learn from it.
My dad died when I was 2.
Yeah.
I didn't know my ABCs because I was sick in the hospital, in Coney Island Hospital in Brooklyn. I got left back in first grade. I went to the schoolyard and I thought I was going to second grade. Apparently I wasn't. And I didn't know that. And so when all your friends are going to second grade and you're going back to first grade, that made an impact on me. I was like, oh, I'm not going to suck anymore. I'm going to pay attention. But I was in the hospital. So I didn't know what I didn't know. And Mrs. Green left me back. So that changed my life at that moment. I would imagine that's had a much bigger impact on me than I even can contemplate. So that was a hurdle, my dad dying and me getting left back in first grade. And then just kind of not knowing, like I didn't have somebody tell me to be a police officer, be a doctor. I didn't go to college. I went to college at Park University on a military base. I didn't know the college experience until my kids started going to private college and I started living through them, seeing like my daughter getting on the volleyball team was maybe, oh my God, I can't tell you how crazy that was. My daughter just receiving today the theater award for her school. You know, she's graduating and she's receiving some kind of award. And, you know, my other daughter having her LinkedIn page updated when she just got a new internship 2 days ago. Like, it's like, wow, those are the things that I live for. Those are the moments. And so I use and again, my mom did a great job doing the best she could, but I wanted to make sure that my kids understood that all they have to do is speak up and I'll try to guide them. Mm-hmm. They're saying, I'll open the door, you have to walk through it. You know, one of my daughters like, I don't want help. Okay, I won't give you help, but everybody else is getting help. I'll make a phone call for you. I'll maybe, but once you get in the door, if I get a call saying, hey, you're not doing a good job, I said, fire her. No, I'm going to give her another chance. No, fire her. And so I just want to give my kids an opportunity. And that's kind of, so I think came out of me being left back and kind of not having guidance and more knowing what to do. I'm only in the hotel business because my mother's friend had a small hotel somewhere. And I guess I said, I guess I'll go in the hotel business. He never taught me, never talked about it, never went behind the front desk. And I just, you know, was just trying to find myself, you know, just trying to find something to latch onto when I found the hotel business. And people say, why the hotel business? Why did you fall in love with it? I said, because I have a lot of different personalities and the hotel business has a lot of different personalities. You know, I love flowers. I can be in the flower business, the hotel business. I love talking to people sometimes. Sometimes I don't. I'll go into accounting and hide for a while. So the hotel business allows me to be everything that my personality really is. So that was the biggest hurdle, and then smaller hurdles. But I never really look at business hurdles as hurdles. I never look at losing a business deal or losing a show or not getting a show or getting a show, getting 3 shows. I don't look at my life in terms of that. I just look at my life as I made a commitment that if I got a TV show, I was going to help younger people, and I'm going to do that. And so I'd say the biggest struggle was getting left back in first grade and my dad dying.
Mm. Well, let's take it to the other side, 180 degrees the other way. Top successes and why?
My kids, my family, my friends, putting myself in a position of access so I can help other people, being put in a position of access so I can help myself. I can do things that are fun. You know, who knew I would be on the floor of the Barclays Center in Brooklyn playing with the Harlem Globetrotters? You know, who knew? You know, my friend Howard, who actually I'm going to speak to tomorrow, Howard called me up and he goes, hey, we need a celebrity guy to play with the Harlem Globetrotters. He's president of Harlem Globetrotters at the time. I said, sure, I'll do it. And I had my kids in the stand and I missed a shot and they made fun of me. Like, so it's just, I just want to have fun. If you ask me really what my goals are, I want to have fun. I want to help people and I want to support my family. That's it. I outside of that, I don't want to take over the world. I mean, I don't know what that means, you know?
Very good. So, you know, we're running down to the end of the show right now. At the end of every podcast, I always like to ask the guest if they know a guy.
I do. Leo Rossi. Look him up.
We will. We definitely will. I can't wait to talk to him.
Just so you know, like you say this goes an hour and 45 minutes, so I must be boring because you get me out before an hour and 45 minutes. Leo would be 3 hours.
I said an hour to an hour and 45.
And then if he does accept to come on the show, which I'm sure he will, when you ask him, hey, do you know a guy? I hope he offers up the guy I'm thinking about because that would be the most fascinating interview. He's very, very, very a person you will know, but I don't know if he'll give up that guy. If he does, it'll be a very interesting podcast. And Leo will be a very interesting podcast.
Oh, that's great. This has been a really interesting podcast. I mean, I've always wanted to talk to you about that show. I love Hotel Impossible. And I love the way that you're very systematic in the way that you approach things. But anyways, yeah, it was a pleasure speaking to you today.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I love you ask great questions. You give people time to speak and really appreciate it. And anything I can do to help you, let me know. And I will be sending you Leo Rossi's phone number.
Well, fantastic. All right, Anthony. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening, guys and gals. That concludes our interview with Anthony Melchiorri. Make sure to tune in next week for our interview with Julian Joseph. Julian is a world-renowned jazz musician, piano player, composer, educator, and a host on BBC Radio. I certainly had a blast listening to him speak about being in Branford Marsalis' band. We also touched on some music philosophy at some point. Anyway, you gotta check it out. As always, make sure to like and follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us out and keeps you up to date with all things I Know This Guy. That's enough of me, and I'll see you next time.